All right, it's 1 minute after 10. Thank you all for joining us this morning. My name is Kade. We are going to be going over the Delta Regional Authority Strategic Planning Grant Program. So we'll go ahead and start off by making a couple of introductions. So again, my name is Kade Jones. I'm a Regional Economic Development Planner here at the Acadiana Planning Commission. We are very fortunate to have directly from the Delta Regional Authority Strategic Partnerships Program, Matthew Campbell joining us today. So now if you have any questions about the program, is a great time to be on this webinar. And also joining us, we have Allison Clark. She is the DRA liaison and the deputy director of the Office of Rural Revitalization under Governor Jeff Landry. And at this time, I would like to invite Allison to just say a few words. Allison, you there?
Hi, yeah, I was having trouble unmuting. Good morning, everyone. I see we have a great turnout today. My name is Allison Clark. I am with the Governor's Office of Rural Development. And our office's primary mission is to help local communities solve problems, create opportunities, basically foster growth in your communities. The governor does sit on the Delta Regional Authority Governor's Board. So we are involved regularly with DRA. One of my favorite programs is the Strategic Planning Grant, primarily because in the past I have worked with grants, not grants, lots of grants, yes, strategic planning plans, and have seen some really miraculous things happen in communities with very thoughtful input from the communities, their leadership, and experts from outside of your community that can help you, who've seen your problems before and seen how others have solved them. So Kate's going to get more into the meat of the grant itself and what's eligible. I'm speaking specifically from a master plan perspective or an economic development plan. There's lots of opportunities, but it's a great way to, address the possible solutions for a problem in your community, whatever your priority is, whatever you see helps you move your community in the next 5 to 10 years, you can use this funding for. So I hope everyone takes away something today. Kate's really been excellent at pushing and helping with these applications on the planning grants over the years. So use him as a resource for sure. And our office is here also. If you have any questions or need assistance or want to connect with somebody else who's maybe addressed your need or problem before. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Good luck, and I'm going to hand it back to Kate.
Thank you so much, Allison. Couple quick housekeeping rules. We advertise this as a webinar, but I set it up as a meeting so that you do have the ability to speak if you have a question. We just ask that if you're not, speaking directly to the presenters, that you be mindful of your microphone. And again, we have a lot of elected officials, a lot of people who work in planning joining us today. And again, we thank you for your time. I took the notice of funding availability and basically translated it into a PowerPoint presentation, but this is a DRA program that we're presenting on. And so Matthew, anytime you want to jump in, or if I'm saying something that's slightly out of alignment with DRA, please correct me. We're very grateful to have you here as a resource today. So I'll give a quick overview of the Delta Regional Authority. Most of you probably have heard of it. If you have not, They were established by Congress in the year 2000 as a regional commission. There's several of them like it throughout the country. We get the opportunity to work with DRA, which is a great agency to work with. They promote economic growth and opportunity by investing in critical infrastructure projects in economically distressed communities. And their investment priorities include transportation infrastructure, basic public infrastructure like water and sewer, small business development with an emphasis on entrepreneurship and job training. You can see the link to their website there at the top of the screen. I encourage you to go and check out their many programs that they have. A lot of hard construction related infrastructure through the state's economic development assistance program. Many of you have probably been engaged with at least hearing about that one, or the community infrastructure fund. This strategic planning program is a great program that is not construction related. It is planning only. We'll cover more on that. But just to show there are many programs that you can check out and may be a good fit for you and your organization. So why is APC the one presenting this? We are designated by DRA as a local development district. We offer technical assistance and support on DRA programs throughout the region, mostly on the critical infrastructure side, but we have capacity as an organization to assist on most of DRA's programs, including the strategic planning program. So there are LDDs just like us throughout the state of Louisiana. You more than likely fall, if you've made it to this webinar, under District 4, Louisiana Planning and Development District 4. If you're from another region, you're more than welcome to stay, but here's a resource where you can see who your local development district is that you should engage with for technical assistance and support. So an overview of the grant program. Many communities in the region don't have the capacity and resources for strategic planning, which is where this grant comes in. The goal of the program is to help economically distressed communities create plans to solve their challenges and increase economic growth. So if you go on DRA's website, there is a fantastic interactive map where you can go and you can put your specific address. It all comes down to if your parish is distressed or not in terms of DRA, and that's determined on several criteria like persistent poverty and economic distress. But DRA recently was reauthorized through Congress, and 3 Louisiana parishes were added to the DRA footprint, including my home parish, Terrebonne Parish. So if you ended up here from another region, feel free to reach out to me anyway. I'll put you in touch with your local development district. So again, this program is for planning, not implementation. So you're not going to get a business incubator constructed with these grant funds. But if you need planning that goes into something that would incorporate that as part of a vision, then that would be an eligible use of the funding. So just be mindful as you're thinking about constructing an application. This is for planning only. So here is this year's funding allocation for the program. You can get a minimum of $25,000 for your plan through this program, with a maximum of $150,000. The program opened for the summer cycle on June 2nd. We're almost at that halfway point with applications being due on August 1st. So if you haven't started, now is a great time to start. If you need some guidance, you can reach out to me. I'll consult with you, walk you through the application, discuss your projects with you. And a beautiful thing about this grant and all DRA grants, well, most DRA grants, is no match is required. With that being said, if you have funding from another source, another grant, federal, state, local, or you have funds from your own budget that you want to contribute to the grant, it does strengthen your application to have other funding besides DRA, but again, not required. So here is a list of the eligible applicants, pretty standard for DRA grants, local units of government, federally recognized tribes, public authorities and associations, nonprofits, LDDs, MPOs, institutions of higher education. So if you fall in one of those categories, you are eligible to apply. Here is a non-exhaustive list of types of plans that can be developed through this program. Obviously, your more standard plans that a municipality or a regional organization would go after, a comprehensive plan, a master plan. But notice on there's feasibility studies, utility rate studies, anything that focuses on improving economic growth. So we're looking at job creation. But you can think outside of the box. This, again, is a non-exhaustive list. If you come up with a creative way to use the funds and it falls within compliance with the program, then DRA welcomes you to introduce that idea in a grant application. So contractual services. Since we've pushed out the announcement at the beginning of June, we have had a lot of interest in this grant program, which is what warranted this webinar. And a question that I've had a lot is, how does this work with consultants and firms? They're definitely encouraged, applicants are encouraged to work with, contractors. But we have to be a little cautious here that we're adhering to federal procurement guidelines. So a firm can be, consulted with, but first I would say you would want to get a couple of quotes from a few firms to justify the amount that's being requested. And you're going to want to defer to federal procurement guidelines and 2 CFR. A little more about that. We did get some clarification. So hiring a consultant or planning firm is allowable. However, including a firm by name in your application does not fulfill federal procurement requirements. Additionally, the guidance that we've received from DRA is they would prefer that you do not list the consulting firm in the application. Federal guidelines require full and open competitive services for competition for services over $10,000. A lot of, one argument I've heard is, well, Louisiana procurement guidelines do not require it, but that does not supersede the federal procurement guidelines, which you still have to abide by. Non-competitive procurement sole source is not permitted simply because a firm was listed in the application. All procurement must comply with federal rules, even if state law permits otherwise. And again, you're encouraged to include quotes to justify your budget, but the firm must still be procured after the award. If you have any specifics about that you're not sure, you've worked out an arrangement and you just want to verify, you can reach out to me and we'll get clarity from DRA. What I will say is that under this current year's federal administration, things are being done more procedurally and rigid, and I would just be cautious to do anything outside of what you think is, compliant through DRA and 2 CFR. I tend to think you should err on the side of caution to prevent any major headaches that you might run into later. If you think it's a gray area, I would encourage you to err on the side of caution. So specifics on the application. The strategic planning program application is available on DRA's application portal. If you have any issues with it, you can reach out to us at APC. We'll help you coordinate that with DRA, or you can reach out directly to them. This is a critical thing right here, that bold second line, verify your sam.gov registration. I would hate for anyone to get, near completion with their application and then they go to upload their sam.gov info and your status is listed as inactive. So don't take it for granted that it's good. Just hop on, log on sam.gov, double check, make sure you're good there. If not, you're going to want to get that. It does take some time to make sure your active status is good. You may have some back and forth with them. So if you haven't done that already and you intend to apply, that should be step number 1.
If I could chime in here real quick. We just received some guidance from GSA that they're no longer issuing paper checks. So that makes verifying your sam.gov information even more important. Because in the past we would, might have had some folks that might have had outdated sam.gov information, and GSA would send them a paper check. But they're no longer, that procedure is now obsolete. And they're going to do everything electronically moving forward. So it's really important to have that up-to-date sam.gov information.
Thank you for that, Matthew. That's good information. So on the application itself, you're going to be required to list the location on the application, and they must provide services or be located within DRA service area to be eligible for funding. So this point right here is pretty important. Here in the APC region, the only parish that is not designated as distressed is Lafayette Parish. We do have a few municipalities that reside in both Lafayette and another parish. If that municipality were interested in applying, the application and the funding would have to be spent on the portion of the parish that is distressed. We got that question a couple years ago and it's come up a few times, and DRA is pretty explicit that their funding cannot be used for planning purposes in a non-distressed parish. Again, if you have questions about that or want to ask specifics, reach out to me. Multiple applicants can do a joint application. If you have cross-state or multi-jurisdictional strategic planning projects, those make some great projects because they show that regional collaboration. Here's just a little screenshot of the portal, and the link to the actual portal is shown there in bold. So you'll get in there, you'll do your pre-qualification information, verify that you have reviewed the notice of funding availability. It's not very long, folks. I would recommend you read it from front to back with the appendix. Familiarize yourself because, knowledge is power. You don't want to get into the application, submit it, get awarded, and then come back and there's a surprise. There's a line that you didn't catch that caught you off guard out of the notice of funding availability. So just make sure you've reviewed it and you're fully aware of all the terms and conditions within it. And then your grant application information, project information, program priorities, and funding information. If you have any issues with it, again, you can reach out to DRA at strategy@dra.gov or reach out to me and I'll do my best to help you out. How are they scored? After applications are submitted, they'll go under eligibility and completeness review. Anything that's not complete is ineligible and will be rejected. Once they're validated, they'll be reviewed using the criteria shown here. Again, this is directly out of the notice of funding availability. So you do have a rubric, so you have an idea of, how many points you get for each section. The The project information section, you should describe the type of strategic plan that you're proposing to create using DRA's funding, why it's needed. There's 4 main questions. I've kind of put an abbreviated version from what was in the notice of funding availability, but those are the 4 questions. What is the plan? What challenges does your community face? What are the goals and objectives that the plan will aim to address? And who will be affected? If you pursue any other federal or state funding after the project's completion, you can mention it in this section. So think of this strategic planning program as a precursor that you will use to leverage additional funding. This is something that you don't want to just sit on the shelf. You want an active plan that you can take and reference whenever you're applying for your water, sewer, transportation, whatever you deem that you want to use the funding for. This should be thought of as a way to show that you have done the legwork and planning to go into that, and you can use that to leverage additional funds. If you've already identified those funds that you are using this plan to go after, that is where you should mention it here in the project information section. You're definitely encouraged to provide high quality research and evidence. So your demographics, we have resources that we love to use. I like using the American Community Survey through the US Census for the latest up-to-date information on demographics and population and things like that. There's also the NERD tool, NERDE, sponsored by the Economic Development Administration, that has it does a great job at consolidating information from a bunch of different data sources, keeping the sourcing so you don't lose that source and citation. And it's just a fantastic tool. I'll make sure to put that in the chat in a little bit here. And I do see some questions we have in the chat. I will make sure those get addressed. Program priorities. There's 3 main priorities through the strategic planning program. Strategic plans that aim to improve economic development in economically distressed and isolated areas of distress. So you need to show how your plan does that. Strategic plans that incorporate input from community members and local stakeholders. We want to see that your community has been engaged. Strategic plans that demonstrate local or regional collaboration. As we mentioned, if you have multi-jurisdictional, if you can show partnerships with community colleges, DRA loves to see that collaborative effort. And then you have your work plan and budget, where you're to describe the tasks necessary to develop the plan, funded under the grant. So your key personnel, the time period, major deliverables. DRA on their website has provided a template for this. I would definitely recommend you reference that template. Applicants are also required to list all expenses in their budget. Each budget item has to have an allowable expense and aligned with the proposed project and work plan. Again, there's a really good budget template and sample on DRA's website. Definitely use that to your advantage. And then here's your budget narrative. So in addition to the budget, you will have a written portion where you describe the costs associated with each budget item. Each item needs to include the total estimated cost for the performance period. And then there's your budget line item categories that you have to list out how you intend to use DRA's funds for each of these line items. Here is the timeline. So in previous years, strategic planning was done on a rolling basis, just kind of throughout the fiscal year. DRA has moved to a winter and summer cycle framework this year. The winter cycle was from January to March, is now closed. We are currently in the summer cycle, which opened up June 2nd, and applications are due on August 1st. After you submit, the review process takes up to 60 days, and applications are reviewed on a rolling basis throughout the application window. So if you apply in August, you can hope to hear back sometime in the fall. And here's our last slide. Again, DRA offers technical assistance through workshops, webinars such as this one-on-one virtual office hours. You can reach out to them directly. I will tell you that with 255 counties to provide technical assistance to, DRA has a lot on their plate, and that's why they trust us as the local development districts to provide technical assistance as well. So you can reach out and contact me at the Acadiana Planning Commission. There's my contact info at the bottom. And now we're going to jump into some questions. So first, I'm going to start off and go through the ones in the chat. Kim asked, could a municipality and a statewide nonprofit be co-applicants on a submittal where a nonprofit would be performing the planning services? The answer is yes. That would be a allowable arrangement. And then we have a comment from Garov that says, we submitted a proposal for the strategic planning program in the previous funding round, but were unsuccessful. Would it be possible to obtain the reviewers' comments? This feedback would be invaluable in strengthening our proposal for the current funding cycle. Definitely reach out to, if you've applied in the past, you didn't get it, and you'd like to get a little bit of feedback on that application, you need to submit that request to strategy@dra.gov, and they will be able to provide you with feedback. And now I'll open it up. If you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat or come off mute and go ahead and ask away. For kjones, the contact information is the email correct. kjones@plan. Oh, thank you, Opal. Good catch. I was missing an A in Acadiana. I will put my email here in the chat. It's a lot of vowels. There you go. I appreciate that. And really quickly before we break, I'm going to I just think this tool is so cool. I'm going to do a very quick demonstration of the nerd tool.
Hey, before you show the nerd tool, I was just wanted to say for the person that asked about the application feedback, have them. I usually, when I send out the notifications through the GMS for anything feedback, application feedback related, I usually have folks email me directly, because I try to keep the strategy email just based on questions that people have pre-application process. So anything post-application, any feedback that they would like to receive, have them email me directly and we'll set up a call.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that, Matthew. Okay, so I joined late. Will you be emailing the participants? Definitely. I am. So this presentation is being recorded and I will be able to provide you with the slide deck, and the recording. But again, just make sure you're checking out the NOFA. The slide deck is the NOFA, just a little more graphic, but you definitely want to check out the appendix with the NOFA as well. And, but yes, thank you for that. I will, and I forgot to mention, I will be sending out slides and recordings to the attendees today. So this tool, the National Economic Resilience Data Explorer, conveniently called NERD, is developed by the Argonne National Library, and this is sponsored by the Economic Development Administration. I highly recommend using this for your demographics, for your data. So what you'll do is you'll come over here and you'll come down to this little thumbnail, Discover Data. That's going to bring you to an interactive portal where you can click on this little map here. Click here to explore your locations. You can search by state to get state level data. You can search by your county, which here in Louisiana, we have parishes. You can search by EDD, which I love, being that we are an EDD. I can go to Louisiana and search, there we are, the Acadiana Planning Commission. And what it does is automatically populates all the parishes that I'm trying to collect data on here. And then you can search down to census tracts. So for the example for this tutorial, I'm just going to use our Acadiana Parish region. So you click apply, and what it does is it populates this page with all these wonderful data tables and charts that show everything from demographics to housing and infrastructure, workforce, local economy, industry trends, and risk and resilience. So we'll click on demographics, and there's your population, your persons in poverty. And what's wonderful is it's not just numbers. You can click on view source and you can see exactly where the information is coming from. You can copy that and cite it in your application to show that the information that you're providing is backed by actual data. I love this tool. I've used it on many a grant application, and I highly recommend using it. Another quick tool I'll show you is the ACS narrative profiles through census. So the community, American Community Survey puts out every year a 5-year narrative profile. You can go and search by place. So I will choose, we'll go with Abbeville because they're the first on the list from our region. You click narrative profile, and it takes a little second to think. You can see it's loading here. And once it finishes, it's going to spit out a whole bunch of information that you can use on your grant applications as well. You can hit Control Find and search keywords and find population, and it also gives wonderful charts and breakdowns. So those are two tools that I would highly recommend you use. If you have, if you look in the chat, you'll see the applicant guide that DRA has published with the strategic planning guidance. Definitely use that to your advantage as well. DRA has put out some concise resources that you can use. It's not overbearing. You're not going to get lost in hundreds of pages of PDFs. They've put out these really useful guides that I would highly recommend using. So that's it for our presentation. If we don't have any other questions, we're going to go ahead and end there. And again, I would just highly recommend, if you're interested in applying, if you have ideas, you're not sure which way to go, you just want to see if this is a good fit or not, reach out to me. You can always reach out to Allison from the governor's office. She is a vital resource from DRA, and you can reach directly out to DRA. But either way, we look forward to working with you all, and thank you for joining us today. And I look forward to hearing from you. And thank you again to Matthew and Allison for joining us.
Thank you, Kay, for putting this together.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. All right, y'all. Have a good day.